morning, good afternoon, good evening. The economic problems in Zimbabwe are getting worse and worse and worse. One of the disappointing realities in Zimbabwe is that Zanu PF, the regime that is responsible for the country's economic problems, is the one that is taking advantage of that economic reality and holding the nation to ransom. This video is about resettled farmers, and the gentleman is a Zanu PF supporter by his own account. And he's expressing his frustration with Zanu PF, the regime, and how the party is failing to honor its promise to them to resettle them and give them title deeds so that they can have the confidence that the land belongs to them and they can develop it. And by leaving them in this limbo where you get a letter that can easily be withdrawn and so forth, it has left them in a situation where they don't know what is going to happen. Some of them have been forced off the land. Let's just listen to the video clip for a short while.
Tikati tane 21 to 23 years tiri pano takaburitsa murongo munzvimbo inoyi yegatsi. Veministry vakauya vachiti vanotigarisa tikafila mafomu ekuministry kuti tizopuhwa minda, tikatengeswa dhiziri, takabhadhara mari madhiziri tikapuhwa zvaitaridza kuti takabhadhara madhiziri kuti vachazocheka minda. Kuofisi ikoko taiona vainzi vasamunda ndo vakanga vari provincial administrator vataidhila navo pamakone apo pachitungwiza apo, variwo district PA. Zvekare tagara kudaro tazoona vanonzi vamasimirembwa mukuru chaizvo mubato redu reZanu PF kuHarare province, asi kunoku kana tachivaona vanenge vari neighbor muvakidzana. Saka vakauya vachiti vane bepa ravo rekuti vari kuda kuita malink roads. Malink roads iwo takachallenge mukoti kusvikira vawana judgment in his favor yakaita default. Zvekare ndobva vazotiisira eviction order iya. Eviction order yaitwa takaburiswa pamba. Maprocesses, madue processes anofanira kuitwa pamutemo tine mufungo wekuti haana kuitwa, ndokusaka takazoendawo kudare kuti nyaya iongororwe patsva, zvekare tidzoserwe panzvimbo yedu. Mhuri iri muno mugatsi inodarika 400 mhuri, ende vari affected, mafamilies ari affected neroad iyoyi vakati wandei vane chitsama chaicho chinotodarika kuma 20, 30, 40 vane road iri kudanga padzimba. Tingati nokutaura ikoko tiri tarisiro yekuti mutemo kana ukanyatsotariswa zvakanaka uye hurumende ikatarisawo zvekare kuti aiwa purazi rakagazetwa ka uye kune vanhu vari kugara, chikumbiro chedu ndechekuti tipuhwe mapepa enotanga tiine mapepa emaofa letter sekutaurwa kwazvaitwa neministry. Tingadai kutaura kunoku tisina kumboitirwa, tingadai takazviramba kare kare. Zvino mapepa iwayo ndo aita kuti adzosere chinhu mumashure, zvoita sokunge panga paine pimbi yevamwe vanhu vari muhurumende imomo vanongoda kuzoti zvadai.
A typical story, Ben. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, and good day to everybody. We are hearing about this, every other day. We did another story of Rua Goromonzi area where People had stayed there for a very long time, and they had been paying their rates to council, and all of a sudden you are told you no longer exist in this area. Go. And the worst part is a lot of people would have invested, in those on that land, built, homes and started their livelihood there. And everything is just leveled to the ground. You just pick up your small movable property and be out of there. This is Zanu PF for everybody to see. And I sincerely believe that Zanu PF is doing this deliberately. It's a way to take away the people's voice and their power. You become powerless. You become, a stooge for them. You really, really rely on their, good nature to keep you, in check. It's sad. It's really, really sad that we are seeing this 45 years in, after a war that was fought so that the people of Zimbabwe can have their land back, and they still don't have the land. And whatever land they have is being taken away from them by the same very people that they fought with. It's a very, very sad story.
Well, I totally agree with you. This is deliberate. I mean, we cannot deny that Zanu PF is doing this for political reasons. As long as people are not settled, they are politically easily manipulated. It's interesting to note that the issue of title deeds, particularly in the rural areas, has been going on long before independence. An economist and a banker, John Robertson, gave Ian Smith a proposal in which he was arguing that government should give the people in the rural areas title deeds to even 20 square meters of land on which their mud hut is built. That will give them the confidence to invest in a better house structure, plant fruit trees, dig wells, etc. Improve that piece of land. Because they will also have the confidence of knowing that even if they should want to move, they can sell it as an ongoing concern. Ian Smith refused to give those title deeds for political reasons. He feared that if you give the blacks any economic empowerment, the next thing they would want is political power. Ironically, after independence, John Robertson gave the same proposal to Zanu PF, Robert Mugabe, and he refused to implement it for the same selfish political reasons. Here is Margaret Dongo, herself a freedom fighter, a former Zanu PF MP, and later on, when she left the party, became an independent MP, explaining why Zanu PF is keeping millions of people, particularly in the rural areas, poor.
They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite and the so-called investors? Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for Zanu PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Because the moment, if you economic empower these people, they'll go out of hand. Zanu PF will never have control over them.
Tragic, isn't it, Ben?
It's very, very tragic. And I have to agree with Margaret Dongo there to say, this is a trap, to keep the people, in check. I mean, look at it this way. Recently, government had started a program to give title deeds to farm owners, land owners, and so forth through this whole land reform program. And now the question is, who are actually getting these title deeds? And the first thing that comes to mind for me is I look at the case, a divorce case of Bona and her husband, Bona Mugabe and her husband, where in there were multiple farms that were mentioned. And you look at it to say, if you don't have title deeds, why would you be mentioning, these as your assets? They have title deeds. So you will find out that those that are high up in the Zanu PF hierarchy have got title deeds to their farms. The lower you go, you don't have anything. You have a promise to get, which leaves you very, very vulnerable and always looking upstairs to say, what if they decide today, is the last day? And, you cannot then move on with life. You cannot take on big projects, lest during that project or, they decide to kick you off. So you're always impoverished. You cannot tackle bigger things. You cannot empower yourself to the fullest of your capabilities because you're not really sure of what tomorrow holds. That way you are always under Zanu PF and waiting for their usual chicken and chips or a plastic cup and a plastic plate here and there. That is what Zanu PF loves to see. People begging, people clapping hands for them, for giving them, useless things. That is what they thrive on, and that is what they really, really want and pushes them to keep on doing this to people. That is the only explainable, answer that is to it. Zanu PF is doing this deliberately to keep us under a tight leash so that we do not explore or do not have wings to grow on and fly. This is what it is, sadly.
Yes, it is tragic that even these resettled farmers, as the gentleman was saying, cannot invest in anything of substance because they know that they may find themselves being kicked off the land, as most of them are finding now, as they are being threatened. We have got to settle some things in Zimbabwe. We have got to look at an issue and resolve it and not keep kicking it down the road. The issue of title deeds is one of those issues that have remained unresolved for 45 years. 45 years after independence, we still have to resolve the issue of land. Why is it that millions, absolutely millions in the rural areas, they are not even allowed to own just even 10 square meters? And yet Mnangagwa is giving title deeds to himself and his cronies. And they own thousands, some of them, of hectares of land, which they did not buy. They just kicked out the white farmer and took it over. And now they own it. And now they've been given title deeds, they can sell it. And yet, a rural farmer, a rural peasant, is not allowed to own 10 square meters. This is ridiculous. And all for political reasons, selfish political reasons. No wonder we are a failed state. Why is it that 45 years after independence, this is the one thing, particularly some of these rural peasants, the one thing they can own for themselves. They have no money. They'll never start any business. They'll never own a car. They'll never own any fixed asset of any value. But the land is something that they can own. They are occupying that piece of land on trust. The land belongs, it's a tribal trust land. Belongs to the tribe, supervised by the chief and the headman. And they can ask you to move, and you will have no choice but to move. This is absolutely ridiculous. We need to solve some of these issues and settle them once and once for all. 45 years after independence, we still haven't resolved one of the most important issues affecting millions of our own people. For Pete's sake, give them title deeds so that they can have the confidence to build themselves a decent home, improve the piece of land by digging wells, planting fruit trees, and generally improving the value of the land, those 10 square meters or 20 square meters. I will tell you now, if the people of Zimbabwe were given title deeds, they would not, if they'd been given title deeds 45 years ago, I don't think we would have many people still living in such structures in this day and age. So this poverty, this abject poverty, is man-made by Zanu PF. And Zanu PF is maintaining it out of selfish political reasons. This madness must stop. Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
In closing, I would want to say, as we can see from the video and the videos from previous programs, Zanu PF is deliberately doing this, and we all know that they do this so that they force people that are under such conditions to vote for them, lest they get kicked out. So it's to take away the people's vote, the people's voice, people from empowering themselves. They are doing that day out of pure selfishness. And I've always said, there is a way to address this. And everything that Zimbabwe is facing is a problem that emanates from us failing to hold free, fair, and credible elections and getting rid of these characters. And we have found out that Zimbabweans have been slow to catch on, and the Zanu PF is tightening and tightening their grip. And I always say, let's address this problem of rigged elections by stopping our participation in those rigged elections until such a time when we have reforms put in place. That is the only way we can try and do our, strategic schemes and all that. It will not work. We have to tackle the problem head on and fix this. And all these other things, political, social, economic problems, will fall into place. So I say again, if there's no reforms, there should be no participation in any elections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. And thank you for those of you who were able to join us. I hope you'll be able to do it again tomorrow, 7 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. Good night.